Dear learners, I am Dr. K.Gowthaman, working as a Deputy Director in Center for Online Education, Indira Gandhi National Open University, New Delhi. Welcome to this session on communication with graphics. Let us begin with learning outcome of this session. After watching this video, you will be able to identify the types of graphics and their different formats. Describe the principles of graphics in instruction, and you will be able to discuss the appropriate use of graphics and explain the various type of graphic file format. What is graphics? The Wikipedia website says that graphics are visual images or design on some surface such as wall, canvas, screen, paper or stone to inform, illustrate or entertain. The image that are generated by a computer called computer graphics. Example of graphics, which include maps, photographs, design and patterns, family trees, diagrams, architectural or engineering blueprints, bar charts, pie charts, typography, schematics, line art, flowchart and many other image forms. Graphics often combine text, illustration and colors. Now let us discuss on communication with graphics. You would have observed that books, newspapers and magazines are increasingly using graphics for the purpose of conveying the message to the readers. Observe a graphic in newspaper, say bar chart or graph, or a cartoon in the newspapers, especially on economic section, or a cartoon on the political news. For what purpose would you use kind of graphic, or some types more suited for particular kind of communication? Graphics are used not only to communicate information but also decorative elements, borders, boxes, corners, etc. to embellish the message. The graphics are used in greetings or invitation cards, posters or notices, cover books, web pages, etc. Examples: self-learning materials, SLM, and books will have various type of text, image, diagram, photo, graphics, etc. Same thing, what are the examples in the web pages? Web pages will have more text and as well as it has four quadrant approach like Swayam and SwayamPrabha materials, where like learner can access four quadrant material. That would be the available in web page graphic communications. Now let us discuss what are the graphics media especially on images. Images that are generated by computer called computer graphics. Examples are photographs, drawing, line art, graphs, diagram, typography, numbers, symbols, geometric designs, maps and other images. Graphics often combine text, illustration and colors. Where are the graphics used? The area in which computer is used include cartography, visualization, measurement of the data, either 2D or 3D images, visualization of computer simulations, medical diagnostic, drafting and computer designs, preparation of publications, special effects in movies and nowadays in computer games. Now we will discuss about use of graphics in printed instruction materials. how graphics are used in instruction. How will it be used different? Let us examine two possible use of graphics. One in printed material like textbook. The second is teaching aid, either projected slide or as a web page, say part of online learning package. Traditionally, one would encounter only a few type of graphics in textbooks. One would find a diagram, say biology text, or pictorial representation of models, say in a chemistry or geometry text, maps, graphs, say in algebra or physics, or a flowcharts. Occasionally, some authors may prefer a comic strips or a cartoon. Let us examine each of these types of graphics in order to understand their characteristic. Let us see with example. The diagrams are generally simplified version of real things. So what you can see on the screen, that diagram A. For instance, a diagram of say circulatory system in the human body may only contain the heart connected to a few branches, arteries and veins. Now you can compare with two diagrams A and B. What you can see the diagram right now is the diagram B. Now you compare with again the initial diagram A. So depending on specific purpose of these graphics, details would be highlighted. For instance, if the purpose was to show process of circulation, then perhaps a different section of the heart would be shown in cutaway of the cart. The graphic would be labeled. That diagram A, which highlights high pressure and low pressure, lowest pressure and highest pressure. So the comparisons will vary from age to age, and also the level of the body and the strength of the body. Then depends on the nature, doctor will decide where to go and what to do. Again, depending on the age and potential viewers or depth to which content is elaborated, the labels would be in simple English or loaded with jargon. Diagrams can range from very simple line drawings to very elaborate colored three-dimensional drawings. Labeling may also range from simple to complex. So that is the purpose of diagram must be used. So as a designer, you have to think about that which situation it need to be used. The rule of the thumb for a good diagram is the match between the specific purpose of the diagram, the level of viewers and the complexity of the subject matter. Let's see one of the example of the graphs. It's a map. Map is one of the graph, especially form a graphics, usually used to represent a geographical regions. They can also be used to present a variety of information relating to that geographical region. You can have a map depicting roads connecting different places of the country. For example, you can say railway map which connects from south to north, or something bus route. So that examples you can make a drop bus route or the via by flight wherever like airport is available, or certain things you can make it by road, so that another map will come. So what you can see on the screen, this one is the example. What you can see that showing the state-wise COVID-19 cases in India, which covered that pictorial representation on 17th January 2021. Each state-wise or just for sample it was highlighted. The distinguishing characteristics of map is that scaled down version of real things on the ground. What you can see, this is one of the map, India rivers and lakes. What makes a map an effective graphical communication? If the map is a physical map of region, it will depict a relative elevations, the differences in vegetations, water bodies perhaps, even depths, and the location of many important places. Obviously, it would not be advisable to depict all the possible information on it, which may not give the exact explanation for the purposes. So accordingly, the viewers can interpret. How could you have made it more effective? Avoiding the clutter or information overload, use of colors such that different features are distinguishable, and clear coding. You may use icons, color codes, symbol, etc. to facilitate easy retrieval of information are the hallmarks of the good map. Study a range of maps and check to what extent they meet these criteria. So let's see another graph. Is one of the diagram which is a line or a curve shows that relation between two quantities, measurement, etc. In a mathematical, a graph can be defined as a pictorial representation or a diagram that represents data or values in an organized manner. The point on the graph often represents the relationship between two or more things. A graph is a non-linear data structure consisting of nodes and edges. The nodes are sometimes referred to as vertices and the edges are lines or arcs that connect two nodes in the graph. Popular graph types include line graphs, bar graphs, pie charts, scatter plots, and histograms. Graphs are a great way to visualize data and display the statistics. Graphs are also specialized form of graphic, specifically used for making comparisons of quantities, that is pie charts. It may be XY graphs, bar graph, etc. or different forms of visual representation of relations between qualities and quantities being compared. Let us take the case of XYZ graph. This is the typical case of representing what happens to quantity Y while X increases or decreases. For example, you could represent the change of air density and temperature of the weather climates. And another example is the flowchart. Flowcharts are used to represent a process or algorithm. Each of steps are displayed in boxes that the process and the sequences indicated by arrows connecting these boxes. Representing in this way, it helps the reader easily to figure out the complete sequence of events and their relationship. Similar in function to circuit diagram, it also helps in analyzing or managing process. It can be great help troubleshooting, finding errors or attributing reasons for them, like in the case of faulty computer program. A particular kind of flowchart called an organizational chart or organogram is used to represent the hierarchical relationship between various offices or officers with an organization. What should the characteristics of the flowchart can be? Obviously, the reader should be able to see all steps clearly, identify the relationship, and identify the sequence of the events. If they are different categories of steps or relationship, one may resort to color coding or using different type of boxes. What you can see is one of the sample flowchart. which taken from Indian Space Research Organization ISRO. That as per this organization structure, the chairman ISRO is the topmost hierarchy. Under the chairman, that director IRS, he is the responsibility of handling all the all the schools and the divisions and sections head. Under him, there are deans, they are academic, handling for the academic parts, and remaining units and divisions, what you can see at the screen, it follows the hierarchy approach. Another type of organization flowchart, one of the example what you can see on the screen, which is from IGNOU. IGNOU organizational structure, which shows the hierarchy as a visitor, where the President of India is the topmost, and then that board of the management. Under the board of management, the Vice Chancellor is the topmost person, and remain all pro Vice Chancellors, they will be reporting to the Vice Chancellors. Then these pro Vice Chancellors, they are heading that of the schools and divisions, units, and support service sections. So you can see that architectures of IGNOU. So this way we have to use appropriate use of the graphics whenever it's required, that need to be applied. You would have observed in an economical and visually enriching style of communication, but inappropriate use would distract or even lead miscommunication. While using graphics, you could work with few thumb rules. Remember, none of these are straightforward or sacrosanct, but it will aid few effective communications. That are some of them. You have to identify the particular type of graphics suited to the purpose of communications. You select a style which clearly highlights the information. You choose size of the graphics should be proportionate to the importance of the information. It may be a very small or it may be a very huge graphics, may not serve your purpose. And also you have to choose appropriate title, captions, labels, icons and other markers legible, suitably located, proportionately sized and appropriate colors and font. Use of decorative elements such as colors, patterns, borders, shadows and stylish fonts should carefully selected. Computer graphics software provides too many choice and very elaborate, purely cosmetic elements. These may not be very helpful for instruction. Discretion in use is very essential. Now let's recall and check your progress. So whatever we covered so far, what type of graphics will you use and feature to highlight the following example? Take a discussion on the fuel crisis. So for this purpose, what kind of pictures you will use, what kind of graphics you will use. Also think about that. You prepare a report on vote held by different parties in the elections. So what kind of graphic will be appeared? You think about that. And also that see how to make a building plan. So which diagram you will make it. So this is a small exercise and you can recall it how you will do it. You think about again and again, you may get some answer. So I am giving that answer too. To make a building plan, for example, like 2-bedroom set, what you will do? The graphics appropriateness is drawing. It's called a blueprint. So you can use drawings for making the kitchens, dining hall, bedroom, etc. The similar way, the fuel price is always going on higher side, so you can use some certain graphics. So you can compare with the line graph, so you can make it a graph. So what you can see, like just one of the examples. Then final one, the votes polled by different parties is in the election. So that purpose, you attract the readers, you may use the bar graph. So what you can see, this is a just example. It's usually followed by various experts. But wherever it's applicable, you can choose your choice and you can make a best effort to display the images. Now just we will highlight about what are the graphic file formats. Nowadays almost all printing and video tasks are accomplished by computer software applications. While introduction you to the details, this software or their use beyond the scope of this unit, it would certainly be helpful if you are familiar with desktop computer graphics. So just I would like to highlight about how you think about that computer screen and the monitor, how it displays the graphic to us. Imagine large number of horizontal and vertical lines crossing each other, dividing the rectangular screen into very large number of tiny squares. To give you an idea how many squares are used, so that purpose we have to do the following things. Right click anywhere on your computer, minimize all the windows and select properties from the pop-up menu, then select the setting tab. Observe the numbers in the section titled screen resolutions. Then you can see such a number such as 1024 into 768 resolutions, or 1280 into 1024, or 800 into 600. These are the resolutions. What does this mean? The number 1024 into 768 means that your screens divided into 7,86,432 squares. The product of this much of pixel is generated. It means each of these small square is called a pixel, meaning of picture element. So each pixel can be considerable small unit of image. Each pixel carries information about the color and opacity of a particular part of image. Together all pixels are arranged in the rectangular grid generate graphics, which we can see a monitor. What you can see the picture, you can see that comparisons, where you can see at the left hand side a imaginary grid overlaid on the computer screen. Each tiny square is a pixel. The right hand side, what you can see, a small screenshot about a typical computer screen. So this way you can consider about resolutions of computer monitor. If a number of such pixel is increased or alternate, the size of each pixel is reduced, and the pixel that the image becomes sharper and more detailed. Now just I will highlighting about raster and vector graphics for quick understanding. Vector graphics, also called graphic modeling or object oriented graphics, is a type of computer graphics. Vector graphics uses geometrical objects like points, lines, curves and polygons to model the image. Mathematics can be used to describe the graphics. Most often vectors and metrics are used. The first major use of vector graphics was in semi-automatic ground environmental air defense system. What you can see, one of the examples which you can see that 7 magnifications example is given. You can see the diagram, like example showing the effect of vector graphics and raster graphics. The other way to model computer graphics is used to raster graphics. Raster graphics model image as a collection of pixels. Unlike raster images, vector-based images can be scaled indefinitely without loss of quality. Vector graphics are most often used to diagram and other things that can be described using simple shapes. Photographs are most often raster images. Now let's see that major difference between raster and vector graphics. Raster graphics are composed of pixels, whereas vector graphics composed of paths. Raster graphics reference process is independent of complexity of the images, whereas vector display flicker when the number of primitives in the image become too large. What are the file extensions mostly for raster graphic? Examples are .bmp, .tif, .gif, .jpeg is mostly used to raster graphics, whereas vector graphics example .svg, .eps, .pdf and .dxf, and which is very less cost. Raster graph, of course, raster graphics cost is very less, whereas vector graphics cost more as compared to raster graphics. And if you think about quality, raster graphics occupy more space, which depends on the image quality, but whereas vector graphics, they occupy less space. The advantage of raster model, the ability to represent continuous surface and perform surface analysis, the visibility to uniform store points, lines, polygons and surfaces, capacity to perform faster overlays than the vector datasets within complex data. Whereas raster graphics are the best used for non-line art images, especially digitized photographs, scanned artwork or detailed graphics. Let's compare the graphic file formats. Using either raster or vectors, computer graphics software generates and save graphics in variety of file formats. Each of these file formats have been evolved with a specific kind of output in mind. We can examine a few of commonly used file formats and compare their characteristics. Example: .bmp, .gip and JPEG and PNG are the raster or bitmaps. And vector graphics example, we can say CorelDRAW vector graphics we can say. And another thing is one more example as Adobe Photoshop .psd. That files are also like raster format. And lot of things you can what you can see, you can also like raster file formats, you can compare it, which covers .svg scalable vector graphics and also like vector markup languages. Now let's summarize in this session what we discussed about. We discussed about the type of graphics and their different formats. We also discussed about the principles of graphics instruction. We discussed about appropriate use of graphics. We covered the various type of graphics formats. With this session, I conclude in this session and I catch you at next session for further more. Thank you.